You ever notice how loud it gets when everything outside of you goes quiet? That moment when no one's around, the phone's not buzzing, the distractions die down, and suddenly you're left alone with you. No filters, no noise, just your own thoughts staring right back at you. That's when the real war begins. Not the one people see, not the one you post about. I'm talking about the war inside, the fight between who you are and who you pretend to be. The constant push and pull between what you know you're capable of and what you've been settling for. The internal voice that tells you you're not good enough, you're not ready, you're too broken, too far gone. That voice that sounds just like you, but isn't really on your side. Some of you don't even realize it, but you're waking up every day and going to battle. And the hardest part, you're fighting you. You're fighting your thoughts. You're fighting the version of yourself that's scared, uncertain, comfortable, and losing. You sabotage your own peace. You talk yourself out of opportunities. You wait for confidence instead of creating it. You betray your goals to protect your fears. You tell everyone else you're fine while slowly breaking inside. And no one can see it. But you feel it, that heavy pressure in your chest, that anger at yourself for not doing more, being more, demanding more. You know, there's something more in you, something sharper, stronger, but it feels buried beneath years of doubt, disappointment, and distraction. Let me ask you something. When are you going to stop giving your power away to a voice that wants to see you lose? You don't need another motivational quote. You need a war plan. You need to decide right now that you're done playing the victim in your own story. You're not weak. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're at war, and it's time to start fighting like it. Because once you win the war inside, nothing outside can stop you. So if you're ready, let's go to battle. You want to know why you keep hitting walls in your life, why no matter how hard you work, how many plans you make, how much effort you throw at things, you still feel stuck. Here's the truth, and it's going to sting. The real enemy isn't your boss, your family, your past, your haters, your finances, or your circumstances. The real enemy is you. It's always been you. Now, before you push back and say, you don't understand what I've been through, stop. I'm not minimizing your pain. I'm not saying you haven't had it hard. I'm not saying people haven't wronged you. But what I am saying is this: your internal battlefield is far more dangerous than anything the outside world could ever throw at you. Most people are so busy fighting external fights that they never stop to realize that the greatest war is happening between their ears. Your mind can be a fortress or it can be a prison, and the worst part is you hold the keys to both. You either control your mind or it controls you. There is no middle ground. Either you're calling the shots or your fear is, either you're building or your doubt is destroying. And this enemy inside of you, it's slick. It knows your weaknesses. It speaks your language. It sounds just like you because it is you. It's the part of you that says, what's the point? The part that whispers, you'll never make it. The one that tells you to quit before you embarrass yourself. That side of you that's more comfortable being average because greatness would require change, discipline, pain. That version of you that is terrified of who you could become. Because if you become that person, you'd have to say goodbye to who you've been. The enemy inside doesn't show up as a monster. It shows up as excuses, as delay, as perfectionism, as fear masked as logic. You say, I'm just being realistic, when what you're really being is scared. You say, I'm waiting for the right time, but you're really hiding behind indecision. You say, I just need to get it perfect, but what you really fear is failure and success. You've built an internal dialogue that's been programmed over years, maybe decades. Maybe it came from parents who never affirmed you, teachers who underestimated you, friends who betrayed you. But guess what? That programming isn't your fault, but fixing it is your responsibility. Because the enemy isn't those people anymore. They're long gone. They may have left the wound, but you're the one keeping it open. You're the one rehearsing the pain over and over. You're the one giving that voice authority over your future. And until you face it, until you stop blaming the world and start confronting yourself, you will never be free. The war inside is about awareness. You can't defeat what you don't acknowledge. You have to start recognizing the moments you sabotage your own potential, The times you avoid the hard conversations, the times you scroll instead of study, the moments you shrink instead of stand. These aren't bad habits, they're attacks, internal ones. And if you don't start treating them like the threats they are, they'll take you out one compromise at a time. You think the enemy comes with red flags and warning signs? No, it comes with comfort. It comes with Netflix. It comes with just 5 more minutes. It comes with every "I'll start Monday." The enemy inside is subtle, it's seductive, it lures you with ease and kills you with regret. But here's the power move. Once you see it, you can start to change it. You start calling yourself out. You start questioning that voice. You say, no, I'm not going to talk myself out of this. I'm not going to shrink just because I'm scared. I'm not letting fear run this decision. You stop being your own bully. You stop being your own worst critic. And you start becoming your own leader. Because winning the war inside doesn't mean silencing every negative thought. It means not obeying them. It means hearing them and choosing to move anyway. Courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's doing the hard thing with doubt still in your pocket. The real enemy is the version of you that wants to stay small, safe, comfortable. But that version of you isn't built for the life you say you want. That version has to die for the real you to be born. And that doesn't happen with more talking. It happens with war, daily, relentlessly. So here's what you do. Start today. Start small. Start even if your hands are shaking. Start even if your mind screams at you to stop. Because with every step you take toward who you're meant to be, the enemy inside loses ground. And one day that voice, it won't disappear completely, but it'll get quieter. And your voice, the one full of power, strength, resilience, clarity, will rise up louder than ever. That's when you know you didn't just survive the war. You won it. Self-discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care about your mood, your past, or your comfort. It doesn't need motivation. It doesn't wait for inspiration. Self-discipline is pure, raw, and relentless. And when everything else fails, when life pushes back, when people disappoint you, when emotions run wild, self-discipline stands like a soldier that never backs down. It's the weapon that never misses. The edge that separates the people who talk from the people who build. The ones who wish from the ones who win. You can have all the talent in the world, all the ambition, all the intelligence, but without self-discipline, it's just noise. You'll start things you never finish. You'll dream of results you never earn. You'll make promises you can't keep to others. And worse, to yourself. Because self-discipline is what keeps you loyal to your purpose, long after the mood you set it in has faded. We live in a world that's obsessed with convenience. Everything is designed to make you comfortable. Food delivered to your door. Movies at your fingertips. Life hacks for every possible obstacle. But what happens when you train your body and mind to only function when things are easy? You become weak. You start to crumble under pressure. You break when things demand more from you than you're used to giving. That's not life. That's surrender. Discipline is the refusal to let comfort dictate your future. It's waking up before the excuses. It's doing the work no one claps for. It's saying no when everything in you screams yes. It's getting your reps in when no one's watching. It's facing your own laziness like an opponent and saying, not today, because discipline is a lifestyle, not a moment. You want peace? Discipline gives you that. You want success? Discipline builds it. You want freedom? Discipline unlocks it. It's the foundation of everything great, because it's not just about what you do, it's about who you become in the process. When you develop self-discipline, you create trust within yourself. And that trust becomes unshakable, because now you're not hoping you'll follow through. You know you will. And that certainty becomes your power. The problem is, most people treat discipline like it's optional, like it's a side dish, not the main course. But the truth is, discipline isn't something you dip into when it's convenient. It has to become your identity. I am a disciplined person. Say it, own it. Every day you practice it, you reinforce it, and every time you break it, you pay the price. Because every time you break your word to yourself, even in secret, you chip pay at your confidence. You teach your brain what I say doesn't matter. But when you follow through, when you keep your word, even in silence, your brain learns I do hard things. I don't back down, I keep my standard. You don't build discipline by being perfect. You build it by being relentless, by showing up when it's ugly, when you're tired, when you're frustrated. You build it in the moments no one will ever see. When you're up at 5 a.m. putting in work, when you choose the workout instead of the excuse, when you shut down distractions because you said this year would be different. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be consistent. And consistency is where most people fall. They go hard for a week, then they fall off. Why? Because they were driven by motivation, not discipline. Motivation is a guest. It shows up when it wants to. But discipline lives with you. It stays. It shows up whether you're excited or exhausted. But let's be real, discipline isn't glamorous. It's not flashy. It doesn't give you instant results, but it builds compound strength. Day by day, layer by layer, and eventually that strength becomes unbreakable. It becomes the reason you outlast the people who started stronger than you. Because while they were busy chasing comfort, you were sharpening your edge. Discipline teaches you emotional control, mental toughness, grit. It turns chaos into order, and order into momentum. Your mind will scream for comfort, for shortcuts, for distractions. But discipline quiets that noise. Discipline says, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is where I'm going. No debate, no negotiation. And look, discipline isn't about punishment. It's not about deprivation. It's about liberation. Because once you master your habits, your impulses, your emotions, you are free. Free from addiction to comfort. Free from cycles of regret. Free from the need to be rescued. So start small, if you have to. One habit, one change, one standard. Hold that line, then expand it. Stack the wins. Every act of discipline adds to your strength. Every time you follow through, you rewrite your identity. You stop being someone who hopes. You become someone who executes. And when life hits you, and it will, you won't collapse. Because discipline already prepared you. It made you resilient. It made you steady. It made you dangerous. This is war. And in war, discipline is your sword. It never misses. It never rusts. And in the hands of someone who refuses to quit, it wins battles. Every time. So sharpen it daily, carry it with pride, and never, never lay it down. Emotions are powerful. They can drive you, define you, and if left unchecked, destroy you. Emotional control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about mastering it. It's the difference between reacting and responding, between chaos and clarity. In any battle, whether on the streets, in the boardroom, in your relationships, or in the silence of your own mind, emotional control is your tactical advantage. It's the edge that turns panic into precision and pressure into performance. You see, most people live like emotional addicts. They chase the highs, collapse under the lows, and let their feelings dictate their decisions. And that's a dangerous way to live. Because when your emotions run the show, logic, strategy, and strength go out the window. You say things you regret. You make choices that sabotage your future. You blow opportunities because you couldn't pause long enough to think. And in the end, you pay the price, not just once, but repeatedly. What you need to understand is that emotional control isn't something you're born with. It's a skill, one that is sharpened through pressure, repetition, and conscious practice. Every time you feel triggered, overwhelmed, angry, or anxious, that's a training ground. That's a moment to choose your response instead of surrendering to your reaction. Because when you master that pause, when you create space between stimulus and response, you take your power back. Let's be honest, people will test you, life will test you, there will be disrespect, there will be rejection, there will be unexpected problems. And if you react emotionally to everything that offends you or challenges you, you give away your power. You become predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. The ones who are emotionally composed, they're dangerous in the best way because they can walk into any room, any storm, any situation, and remain centered. They don't need to prove anything. They don't chase validation. They don't explode under pressure. Instead, they observe, they listen, they respond with clarity, not chaos. That's not weakness. That's discipline. That's power. There's a reason the calmest person in the room often holds the most influence, because control breeds confidence. And when you learn to manage your emotions, you stop being a slave to them. You stop allowing a bad mood to ruin your day, a careless comment to derail your focus, or a trigger to throw you off course. Emotional control also allows you to see clearly, because when emotions cloud your vision, you lose perspective. You overreact, you misjudge, you turn molehills into mountains and threats into truths. But when you can regulate your emotional state, you create internal space for logic, for strategy, for truth. You separate facts from feelings. And in a world that runs on outrage, that kind of clarity is rare. It makes you stand out. It makes you unshakable. This doesn't mean you become cold or numb. Emotional control isn't about turning off your heart. It's about putting your mind in the driver's seat. It's about channeling your emotions as fuel instead of fire. You can be passionate and still composed. You can be intense and still strategic. In fact, your emotions can be your greatest allies if you know how to harness them. Anger, when managed, becomes fuel for justice. Sadness, when processed, becomes empathy. Fear, when faced, becomes courage. But if you let those emotions control you, they'll blind you. They'll keep you reactive, unstable, and scattered. Think of emotional control like a soldier in the heat of battle. You don't want someone panicking, firing blindly, or making reckless choices. You want precision. You want discipline. You want someone who's trained to act under pressure, not collapse beneath it. That's what you need to become in your own life. That's what makes you unstoppable. And here's the truth. Emotional control is especially powerful when you're surrounded by people who lack it. Because in a world where everyone's triggered, where everyone's offended, where everyone's acting out, you become the one who leads, the one who de-escalates, the one who makes decisions not based on ego, but on excellence. You become the storm that doesn't bend. It's not easy. No one said it would be, but emotional control isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about being self-aware enough to say, I'm feeling this, but I don't have to act on it. That level of mastery builds mental toughness like nothing else. And that toughness, that's your armor in the war inside. You want to win? Then learn to stay calm when everything around you is falling apart. Learn to hold the line when your emotions beg you to explode. Learn to protect your peace, not by avoiding conflict, but by controlling your internal response to it. This is where the war is truly fought. Not on the outside, but in your mind, in your reactions, in your discipline. Every moment you choose restraint over rage, focus over frustration, stillness over spiraling, you win. You build strength. You earn self-respect. And self-respect, earned through emotional control, will take you further than talent, charm, or even intelligence ever could. So if you want the edge, if you want the upper hand in life, develop emotional control, train it, protect it, practice it, because when the storms of life come, and they will, your greatest weapon won't be how loud you are or how fast you move. It will be how still you can stay in the middle of the chaos. That stillness, that presence, that control, that's your tactical advantage. Wield it. You don't need another excuse. You need a decision. Every time you whisper to yourself, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm just not ready yet, or this isn't the right time, you're not protecting yourself. You're betraying yourself. You're cutting yourself short and calling it self-care. You're putting your dreams on pause and disguising it as patience. But deep down, you know the truth. Excuses are lies wrapped in soft blankets. They comfort you in the moment, but they suffocate your potential over time. Let's stop sugarcoating this. You're not too busy. You just haven't prioritized. You're not good enough. You're scared of how powerful you actually are. You're not waiting for the perfect moment. You're stalling because you're afraid of failing, or worse, of succeeding and realizing how much more you could have been doing all along. Excuses are convenient. That's why we lean on them. They give us something to point at so we don't have to look in the mirror. They let us off the hook. They give us a reason to stay stuck and still pretend it's out of our hands. But let me tell you, every excuse is a slow death, a quiet, steady erosion of your potential, your purpose, and your pride. You don't have time for that anymore. Not if you want to live with meaning. Not if you want to walk into rooms with confidence. Not if you want to reach the level that deep down you know you were built for. Every excuse you cling to is robbing you of something far more powerful. Your momentum, that invisible force that builds with every action, every hard choice, every uncomfortable decision that says, I'm not backing down this time. The truth is, your life doesn't change when you make a wish. It changes when you make a move. And you can't move forward while dragging around a backpack full of excuses. And here's what's dangerous. Many of your excuses look reasonable. They sound mature. I have responsibilities. I've tried before and failed. I need to think it through. I need more clarity. But all of that, if it's keeping you stuck, is just fear wearing a mask. Stop betraying yourself by letting that fear have the final say. How many times have you talked yourself out of doing something that could have changed your life? That one conversation you didn't have, that opportunity you didn't chase, that commitment you didn't keep. How many times have you convinced yourself you weren't ready, when really you just weren't brave enough? That ends today. Because every time you choose the excuse over the action, you're teaching yourself to settle. You're reinforcing a belief that says, I'm not strong enough to push through. And over time, that belief becomes your identity. But it doesn't have to. You can interrupt that pattern right now. Start by getting honest with yourself. What are the top 3 excuses you keep using? You know, the ones, the default statements you reach for when you feel the edge of discomfort. Write them down, look them in the eye, and then challenge them. What if none of them were true? What if every single one was a well-dressed lie designed to keep you small? That conversation is uncomfortable, but it's also where growth begins. You owe yourself more than a well-reasoned excuse. You owe yourself results. You owe yourself progress. You owe yourself the version of you that's done playing small and done making promises they don't keep. You owe yourself action. Here's what's powerful. Once you stop feeding your excuses, they stop controlling you. They lose their grip, and in their place, something fierce starts to rise. Discipline, integrity, self-respect. And when those things show up, you don't need external motivation. You become your own fuel. Every time you take action in the face of fear, you train yourself to become someone who doesn't flinch. Every time you push forward when it's hard, you become someone who doesn't fold under pressure. That version of you, that's the one who wins the war inside. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You won't always feel ready. Do it anyway. You won't always feel brave. Show up anyway. You won't always feel motivated. Push through anyway. Because the version of you that's waiting on the other side of consistency is unstoppable. But you'll never meet them if you keep clinging to your excuses, like a shield. Stop betraying yourself by letting excuses run your life. You're not made for average. You're not here to blend in. You're here to rise. So the next time you hear that inner voice saying, not now, talk back, say, no more lies, no more delay. I'm done betraying myself. And then move. Move with purpose. Move with pain. Move scared if you have to. But move, because you deserve to see what's possible when you stop making excuses and start making moves. Your mind is the most powerful weapon you will ever carry, but it's also the most dangerous battlefield. And every single day, you're either commanding it or being controlled by it. We love to talk about power. We talk about taking control, being strong, becoming unshakable. But the truth is, none of that happens out in the world unless it first happens in your mind. That's where every battle is won or lost. It's not about your circumstances, your bank account, or your background. It's about who runs the show up there, who's driving the thoughts, who's shaping the beliefs. Because if you don't own your mind, something else will. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. Your mind doesn't care what's true. It only believes what you feed it. So if you keep feeding it doubt, if you keep giving it fear, if you keep handing it reasons why you can't, then guess what? It'll believe you. It'll turn those whispers into walls. And every time you try to move forward, your mind will remind you why it's safer to stay where you are. That's not weakness. That's untrained power. Because make no mistake, your mind is powerful. That inner voice, the one that never turns off, it's shaping every single choice you make. It's driving how you show up in the world. And if you're not intentional with it, it'll run wild with every fear, every insecurity, every piece of programming you picked up from other people. Your job, if you want to become unshakable, is to take it back. You've got to own your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. You have to filter every thought, question every belief, interrupt every lie that says you're not enough, not ready, not worthy. You have to decide that just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it gets to stay. And you can't do that passively. You have to be fierce with your focus. You have to train your mind the way a warrior trains for battle. Because that's what this is, a battle between the part of you that wants to grow and the part that wants to stay safe, between the part of you that knows you're built for more and the part that fears what more might cost. Here's what you need to understand. The war inside you will never be won by emotion. It's won by discipline. It's won by mastering your mental habits. The thoughts you allow, the stories you repeat, the things you say to yourself when no one's watching, that's the real training. If you don't learn to own those, they'll own you. Your mind is always listening, always adapting. It learns what you feed it. So if you feed it frustration, it'll find reasons to be frustrated. If you feed it fear, it'll seek out danger. But if you feed it discipline, if you feed it courage, if you train it to focus on solutions instead of problems, then you become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. So many people spend their whole lives reacting to what they feel, what they see, what others say. That's not freedom, that's slavery to circumstance. The people who win, the ones who create impact, who lead, who build legacies, they don't just let their minds wander, they direct them ruthlessly, repeatedly, every day. This is why meditation matters, why journaling matters, why learning, reflecting, being still, it all matters. Not because it's trendy, but because it's training, it's strategy. It's how you program the machine that runs your entire life. You don't get strong by accident. You get strong by design. You build mental strength, the way you build muscle, with resistance, repetition, and intention. And it starts with awareness. Catch the thoughts that pull you backward. Notice the stories you tell yourself when you feel pressure. Hear the language you use when you're tired, when you fail, when you're doubting. That's your mental blueprint. Don't ignore it. Own it. Then rewrite it. Not with false positivity, but with power. Tell yourself the truth, the real truth. The one that says, I'm not there yet, but I'm coming for it. The one that says, I've made mistakes, but they're not my identity. The one that says, yes, it's hard, but I was built for hard things. Because if you don't speak power into your own mind, it'll speak weakness into you. And that weakness will cost you opportunities, relationships, peace, progress. But when you own your mind, when you take back control of your inner world, the outside world starts to bend. Not because it changes, but because you do. You become someone who doesn't need validation. Someone who doesn't fold under pressure. Someone who doesn't chase clarity. You create it. Own your mind or be owned by it. There is no in-between, no neutral ground, no part-time control. This is full contact, full power, full responsibility. The world won't stop trying to shake you. So don't build a fragile mind. Build one that stands. Build one that leads, because the war inside you isn't over. But when you own your mind, you stop losing. You rise, you fight, you win. Let's be clear, this world isn't designed to make you powerful. It's built to distract you, to weaken you, to keep you chasing approval and questioning your worth. And unless you take ownership of what's going on inside you, you'll keep handing over your power to everything outside you. That war, the one you've been fighting silently every day, behind your smile, behind your routine, it's real and it matters. But here's the truth. You don't need to be rescued. You need to remember who you are. You need to stop waiting for peace to find you and start creating it from within. Because the enemy isn't your past. It's not your critics. It's not even your circumstances. The real enemy is the version of you that keeps settling, hiding, hesitating. You were not made to live at war with yourself. You were made to win it. And winning doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It means you fight differently. You think differently, you stop reacting and start choosing. You stop surrendering and start leading. You stop believing every lie that fear whispers and start speaking truth to yourself daily, relentlessly. So stand up, tighten your armor, command your mind, control your emotions, lead your energy. Because from this moment forward, you don't fight like someone who's hoping to survive. You fight like someone who's already decided to win. And when you win the war inside, nothing outside can break you. Not now. Not ever.